Four ordinary guys with extraordinary ideas for Disney parks. This is Main Street Musings, the experimental podcast of tomorrow.
That's right. Welcome back to Main Street Musings, the experimental podcast of tomorrow. My name is Eric, and with us today we have the spark of inspiration, Brock.
Sparkle, sparkle.
The heart of all creation, Jake.
Hey there, hi there, ho there.
And the spark that lights up just for you, Tanner.
Hey there, just for you.
Just for you. Whoever's listening, that's him.
Yeah,
He's just for you.
I promise you, whoever you are listening to this, I'm sparkling just for you.
Yeah.
None of us. We don't see him sparkle at all.
Not these three. That is a guarantee. I will never
can see him in the
sparkle for
video
you.
chat. He is sparkling, and it's not for me.
Yeah.
It never is.
That much I can tell. So, for those of you who, like me, probably couldn't tell what the fuck that was about, this episode...
Strong start.
Jake, why don't you give us a little bit of an intro as to what this episode's all about?
Sure. So we're calling this episode the Imagination Pavilion Problem, which is the Imagination Pavilion was once an awesome thing. Back when Epcot first started, they had all these pavilions. Each one was themed to a different aesthetic or different... I hate to say theme, but you can anybody help me with a better word?
No.
Okay.
Concepts, ideas, sort of
Concept, yeah. Thank you, Brock. And so, for example, you had the Transportation Pavilion, which focused all around different styles of transportation through the years. And you had the Horizons Pavilion, which focused on looking toward the future. And you had the Imagination Pavilion, which focused all on imagination. Okay? And over the years, these things have changed. For example, the Transportation Pavilion eventually turned into Test Track. So that's similar. A lot of people say it's better than what was there. Some people disagree. But in the case of the Imagination Pavilion, it has changed over the years, and a lot of people have said it has changed for the much, much worse. So one of the flagship attractions there was called Journey into Imagination, which starred Dreamfinder, who was this awesome, jolly character with a big red beard, and he wore a purple suit and a purple top hat, and he would sing the classic song, which Eric was quoting at the beginning, the one little spark of inspiration, and teach you all about imagination and stuff. And that was considered to be a very classic Disney ride. And eventually that got cut way down and changed, and now it's this weird version with Eric Idle, and Figment is just an annoying little shit, and he used to be a beloved character. And they got rid of all the other stuff that was in the pavilion. There was a lot of cool games and activities, and now there's just a DVC lounge where DVC members only go and sit in couches so they can sit in the air conditioning for 5 minutes.
It's just a room where they can charge their phones.
Yeah, that's all it is. And then they used to have, there was the theater, which originally was Captain EO, and then it became Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, and now they just show clips from Pixar movies. That's literally it. They got rid of all the 4D elements. You just walk in there and you watch clips from Pixar movies that you've already seen. That's it. That's basically the whole pavilion now.
What
kind
Jake
of a waste
is
of
trying
space.
to say is fuck the Imagination Pavilion.
As is.
Yes.
And here, being the generous folk that we are here on Main Street Musings, we are here to unfuck the Imagination Pavilion. Is that that's like a succinct way of putting like what today's episode's about, right?
Yeah, we want to try to restore it to its former glory, but not necessarily just redo what it used to be. How can we make it a good thing again? That's what.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited about it. I think it'll be fun. I think it's going to be a good time. I looked at the spreadsheet today. Very excited about what you guys are bringing.
Yeah.
Also a little upset because all three of your ideas were like the first three things that came to my head. And I was like, well, okay. This will be fine. So yeah, it'll be an adventure, restoring a beloved section of a great park for you today. Oh, happy birthday, Shanghai Disneyland.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
Happy
That's
birthday.
on the day we
As
are
of
recording. June 16th.
Happy 5th birthday. What the I thought it was like
Yeah, me too.
20th or something.
Shanghai is relatively recent.
I knew it was relatively recent, but not. Oof.
Let's jump in. Today, I will be going first.
All right.
Because I want to. And by that I mean I rolled a d4 and it came up on my number.
Wink, wink. Wink, wink.
So, my pitch for fixing the Imagination Pavilion is to turn it into a lunar landing, is kind of what my idea is. So, it's become like a small colony on, this is like a near future small colony on the moon, from which we can explore our solar system and learn more about the universe. So you'll have different attractions about like teaching kids like the basics of gravity and how that works, and there'll be like a planetarium and like mini simulated rocket ship rides and things like that for the kids. So it'll be a very educational, sort of like space camp adjacent thing. Learning all about our solar system and sort of our place in like the Milky Way and the universe, and give kids like a foundation for those kinds of cosmological ideas. And we can have lots of room for cool IP. There's room for definitely Wall-E to pop up here and there. And just sort of be led by like the main Disney characters in spacesuits is kind of what I was thinking. Like Disney teaches us about gravity and his like bouncy thing, right? Don't want to tie it too hard to any specific IP, but there's room for a lot of cool stuff there. That's basically what I got for the base pitch. We can talk more about specifics moving forward, but yeah, that's my pitch today. Lunar landing. Nice. Teaching about the solar system in space.
I do have to weigh in and say, not only does that sound better than what's at the current Imagination Pavilion, it also sounds better than what is at the current Space Pavilion, which is Mission Space. Someone who gets motion sick and claustrophobic, I do not care for Mission Space.
Mission Space is like shooting a coffin out of a cannon that you're inside. It's just awful.
And then trying to tell you that it's fun.
I enjoyed it the last time I was there.
Really? Well, that's, you know what? More power to you, Tanner.
I think I had heard people talk about it so many times that like I'd never gone on it before, and Jackie really wanted to. I think I had built it up in my head how bad it could be, that like I was like, oh no, this is not what I was like, I'm gonna want to die halfway through it. It's boring.
I might be misremembering, but I think they lowered the intensity a lot within the past few years.
They
did. People were having actual health issues several years ago, so they had to legally lower it.
Mm-hmm. Is that the thing that's in the golf ball? What's in the golf ball?
Spaceship Earth. It's the history of communication throughout the human race.
Yeah. Oh. Cool. Next up, we have Brock.
All right. We're here to fix a problem that I think never needed to happen. I think the best way to fix the problem is to bring it back to the original idea. The problem was always that it wasn't that idea any longer. So I think we need to bring it back, but update it. Update it much better than they did, because what they did is they took a couple of the aesthetic ideas and got rid of all of the heart and all of the soul of it. So I am pitching the Imagination Pavilion will now be Dreamfinder's Dream Factory, or Dreamfinder's Imagination Machine Factory, whatever. Any amount of those words. I am bringing back the characters Figment and Dreamfinder, who were original characters to Epcot. I think I think when it opened, there wasn't any IP, so Dreamfinder and Figment were the only like Epcot characters.
That is correct.
Yeah, so they...
Quick history of Epcot was that Disney made a rule when it first opened that they wanted no IP in Epcot whatsoever. And the Imagineers thought that was a bad idea. So as a compromise, they created Dreamfinder and Figment to be Epcot's official IP and only in Epcot. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so they were the ambassadors to Future World, and they were creatures of imagination. Dreamfinder was a jolly kind of fellow who liked helping people find their dreams, and Figment was just that. He was literally a figment of his imagination come to life. So I'd like to return them to Journey into Imagination. What I plan to do with that is bring it back to the original idea, where it is exploring Figment's imagination. It's a much cleaner idea, and it included sections dedicated to art, stories, and science. And I have a lot of ideas to go into those sections to make it a much smoother transition to, I think, improve upon the flow of the ride and also make it fit a story a little bit more, and with modern technology. Then the other attraction in there is ImageWorks, which is a fun interactive lab of lots of fun toys and machines for kids to play with. I would like to move it back to the second floor where DVC lounge is currently. I'd like
QVC.
QVC.
Disney's starting to turn into a fucking shopping network. I don't blame you for your Freudian slip.
I'd like to add some virtual reality experiences and a guided story time with the Dreamfinder. And in the 4D theater there, that is currently Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I would like to have a show where Dreamfinder and Figment take us on the journey through someone's imagination, a man who he eventually realizes Walt Disney. All the way through his characters, through the parks, and eventually back to Epcot through the doors of the theater, where using, modern cameras and technology, we see ourselves as Dreamfinder and Figment wonder what we can imagine. And that's my pitch. Wow. I have a lot of details if you want to get into those later.
Tanner, you're up next.
So basically, I sat down and I kind of wanted to create an idea where we could capture the spirit of what the Imagination Pavilion what it was designed to do, but merge that with Disney's newer shifting idea into incorporating more IP into Epcot as a whole. So my fix to the current Imagination Pavilion and the theater, it's used for like Pixar short film stuff, is to overhaul the area into an inside-out themed area with the primary focus to be changing the pavilion into Imagination Land from the film. To start, I would like to use a quote from Sadness. Is it all going to be so interactive? And my response to that is, you bet your ass it is. My idea is to have every part of this land to be very interactive and really help especially have children tap into that sense of play. Some of the things I imagine being in the land, see what I did there, are a snack bar themed to the French fry forest, an updated game room with some different VR experiences based on the Trophy Town area, a actual like Flora's Lava play place, and I would like the center of it to be a dark ride replacing Journey into the Imagination, the shitty version that we have, with going through the other parts of Imagination Land with Bing Bong, and for our classic Epcot fans, Figment, who appears in a portrait in the film and therefore does exist in the Inside Out universe, exploring the limitless possibilities of our imaginations. Finally, my idea would be to kind of transform that theater more into like the headquarters space and do some sort of simulation 4D movie involving the characters from Inside Out and controlling Riley in there. And then like just having like facades of the rest of the areas, like the different islands. I don't think there's not space for them all. So just making those like little areas that like guests can see, but we can't go to.
Cool.
Jake?
Okay, so we're talking about like throwing back to imagination, and one of my ideas was to discuss imagination in its most pure form. And I was reminded of a quote from a great George Carlin bit. George Carlin, of course, being in the movie Cars, which is a Disney Pixar film, where he's talking about how the most fun and imagination a kid can have is when he's just sitting there with a fucking stick. So my idea, that was the inspiration. My idea is I want to gut the entire building and just paint it white. And where ImageWorks is, you will go in to this empty room and you will be able to just play with a stick. No. And of course, Disney can sell these sticks for different levels. I figured we might have like a maple stick, with Disney it would probably be like $25. Maybe a nice mahogany stick you could buy for like $75. If it's finished well, with a nice polyurethane, maybe you would pay like $150 for your stick. So ImageWorks would be where you can play with your stick and you can imagine that it is anything you could possibly think of. There's no limit to your imagination. Where Journey into Imagination is, the dark ride, of course, this would be another empty space that's completely dark. You can't see anything. That way you really can just be full imagination. You release the guests into this dark area and they can imagine this amazing attraction to be whatever they want it to be. Possibly the greatest attraction ever conceived. We don't know.
Oh my God.
And then where the 4D theater is, of course, we'll still have the chairs and we'll have a blank stage or a screen, depending, we can talk about this, where the audience will sit and imagine the greatest show they have ever seen. And everyone will be talking about this wonderful theatrical performance that they saw and how great it was, because the only limit is their own imagination. And for those who don't have the greatest imagination, was tossing around the idea of maybe we provide LSD. I don't know, just throwing it out there. We can discuss that. So that's my idea for the Pure Imagination Pavilion. Thank you.
Oh, man. I thought it was a bit before you did your real pitch, and then it just kept going.
That's my pitch.
I want to vote for it.
I mean, obviously, we all want to vote for it.
I love the idea of like the stick being $150 and the LLC is free. And just like hand you a tab as you go in, but you have to buy the stick.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like what they would do, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That was good. That was very good.
Jake.
All right. Questions?
Yeah, I have a question for Jake.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a lot of really great things.
Thanks.
I would love if we could add like a restaurant area in there where we could imagine.
Yeah. So
best
actually, I thought about
possible.
that. If you've seen the movie Hook,
Yes.
there's that great scene where they're sitting around the table and they're opening the dishes and there's no food because they have to imagine the food. That's exactly what the restaurant would be. So you could have the greatest meal ever. Your meal could be terrible, but that's on you. It's really freedom of your imagination.
Imagine Captain Hook bringing it to you, or Robin Williams.
Yeah. See, this is the ultimate. This is the ultimate attraction. This is the pinnacle of our show so far.
It reminds me of that SpongeBob episode where he buys a whole ass TV just to
So he can
play
sit
in the box. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't want to be the Squidward in that episode because that Squidward is a square.
Kids today are so spoiled
And he
by
gets
their
taken to the
smartphones and iPads. They need to learn how to use their imagination again. And what better way to learn than to be forced?
When I was a kid, I used to throw a bouncy ball up onto my roof and let it come back to me for hours.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Hours.
Except here, we would take it one step further, and they would just pretend that they're throwing a ball onto the roof for hours.
Yeah, Eric,
See?
I was going to say, watch it there with an actual roof and an actual bouncy ball.
Yeah, I'm sorry
That's
that my
doing most of the heavy
bleeding
lifting.
through all of this.
My God.
I have a question for Tanner.
Yes.
You didn't mention Bing Bong's Void, and I want to know more about how that's going to be incorporated.
I mean, we will have the overwhelming sense of dread knowing that we are probably I think every day, kind of like how Batu is set in a very specific time period, I think that this Imagination Land could be set in a very specific time period of Bing Bong's last day before Riley sends him to the hell of a void of
I
nothingness.
have a counter proposal. like every 45 minutes from the speakers, you kind of just hear Bing Bong go, "Help me." You don't know where it's from. It's from all around you. It's from inside of you. You can't tell. What about that? What do you think about that?
I would go along with the bit, except for we already have Jake's whole pitch, so I want to actually pitch something good.
It's not a bit. This is my real pitch.
All right, well then my question is useless. Next person should ask a question.
Well, you may have addressed this, Eric, but I missed exactly what... is there going to be a ride?
Yeah, I did not address it, no.
Okay.
I have not... I have two competing ideas for what the ride is, which is a big part of why I didn't address it. I have one that's sort of like a journey through the solar system that's like kind of like a stop and start dragster kind of thing, but we've been doing a lot of those lately, and more of like a dark ride through what a moon colony might actually look like, and sort of where we're at as a civilization as compared to what needs to happen for a moon colony to exist. It's sort of that process, right? So more of an educational about what that would be, and then the other one would just be like, here, cool, look at the planets. Here's some neat things about them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Brock, I had a question for you.
Yes.
Your experience was the Dream Factory, right? Is that what you said?
Yes, that's what I wrote down on the little sheet.
Okay.
What it really is going to be is I'm not sold for factory. I think the Dream Factory itself would be more what ImageWorks is now.
Okay.
But I want the entire Imagination Pavilion to be overhauled with Dreamfinder and Figment like it once was.
Right. Well, I was just fascinated by it because Dreamfinder had that like blimp thing that would that's what Figment was created from. It kind of brought dreams to life.
That is a big part of my ride pitch. I can get into some of those details now if you want, but in the original ride, you see him on the ship, and then you just kind of see him animatronics peppered throughout. My idea for the ride is that Dreamfinder's always on the ship, and he is using that the magic of his ship to give Figment's imaginings form. So this is everything that Figment is imagining. He's using that ship to create it for him to see and for us to see and to live in that world.
Gotcha. Okay. That sounds similar to the original ride.
Yes. Yeah, it absolutely is similar. It's just the idea of the ship is more ever present.
Okay.
In the original ride, he would be standing on stuff and off in the distance.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
And I also think he would have some more narration that would take us through the story of the ride.
Sure. Eric, so your idea, you're turning the entire pavilion into a moon base, or when you walk in, it just looks like you're on the moon? I was a little unclear on that.
It would look like you were on the moon.
Okay.
That would be sort of the way that it was set up, kind of dark gray pathways, and all of the buildings would be sort of set up like little stations or whatever.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I guess there's an existential side of that where you walk in and you're like, should I be able to breathe? Or
nah, it's Disney.
Should I be able to jump 20 feet forward right now? I don't know.
I was going to say, Eric, I think you get existential about these things more than anyone else does.
Yes. There's very little I don't get existential about.
I'm very nervous about this episode and exploring with especially Brock's idea of Figment and Dreamfinder, wondering what sorts of things Eric could imagine to life. I don't know if we want to give that a power.
Yeah, it's going to get dark. Question for Tanner, serious question.
Yes.
You mentioned the control center being kind of like Riley's brain. Is there room, do you think connecting it back to Riley is necessary, or is there a way I don't know if there's an organic way for us to connect it to like more of a personalized guest experience. Do you think there's a way to do that?
I mean, that's something we could talk about. My thought is a 4D show, the setup of that. It's going to be hard to have in a audience like that. The construct be you are each individually in your own mind. You could do a we don't really present whose mind it is.
Okay.
Would be I think the workaround to that.
I think I misunderstood then. I think I was thinking like the whole setup was like almost like its own little play place museum that you were like controlling Riley's mind in. So I apologize for
No, that's just part of it. And then there's
sense.
all of the different play places and interactive things around the land. Apart from that, that would just be specifically what because it used to be like the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids 4D show would be that building would be turned back into a 4D show of
Gotcha.
like that. But the part of it that I find more interesting to explore, and I think that kids would want more, is the less attached to Riley parts of it, which are exploring this imagination, which I think gives us more freedom to break away from just what was seen in the movie.
Cool.
Yeah.
My question is satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I think I'm good. Unless there's more questions for me.
I mean,
want to
do
make
we
sure
even
everybody's
have to
clear
vote?
on my
Jake
idea.
Wins, right?
Yeah,
Like-
obviously.
It's a 4-0 sweep, and we let him vote for himself. Right?
Yeah. I mean, mine is the only one that's truly based on imagination, right?
Speaking of Jake, you do not have the power to vote for yourself. You do have the power to vote first, however.
I had a bad feeling that was coming. Great pitches all around. Yes, myself included. I really like all of them, but you guys know me. I'm a sucker for classic Disney, and I think the closest thing to classic Disney is Brock's. I think that's a great idea. I'm really in love with that idea of seeing Walt's imagination. Yeah, I think that's great. I'm voting with Brock. Dreamfinder, got to bring him back. Love Dreamfinder.
Thanks,
Cool
man.
beans. We're going to break the mold a little bit today.
Ooh,
I'm going to vote next.
sexy.
Oh,
Breaking the mold.
Breaking
I don't
the
even know
law.
why. I
Breaking the
just, like,
law.
Kind of want to spice it up, use my
Break that
imagination a
mold,
little
baby.
bit.
Hey.
Oh.
So, I mean, as an artist, there are actually things I really like about Jake's. I'm not going to vote for it. But, like,
Oh my god.
Coward.
you could take that and sell it as an installation in New York, and people would pay $40
Oh, I
to
know.
go see it.
I know. Having gone to getting a full 4-year degree at an art school, believe me, I know.
I love Brock's. I am not as steeped in the Disneyana side of it, so I don't know a ton about like the original Dreamfinder or Figment. I watched like a ride through of Figment's ride, and I'm like, this dude's a dick.
Yeah, and in the original version, he's
sucks.
like a cute, childlike, fun character who's full of wonder and excitement. In this new one, he's like Bugs Bunny without the charm, and also on cocaine.
So he's me?
I think so. The reason, so I'm going to vote for Tanner's. A large part of the reason, what instantly popped in my mind for this was doing like a brain and the mind, and then connecting it to like emotions and like synapses and stuff like that. So when I heard the fully fleshed out Inside Out pitch, I was like, yeah, this is the thing that jumps to my mind when I hear about this. So I will be voting for Tanner's. Now that, see, this is why I do this. This is why we vote the way we do, because now I have to randomize it. Because it...
No, Tanner can vote next.
Okay.
Brock, you vote next.
Tanner, pick a number between 1 and 10.
7.
Alright, you vote next.
Fuck you. I don't believe you.
There's odds you even Brock, man.
I'm having a hard time. which is the real reason I was trying to put this off. I really hate Jake's idea.
Well, fuck you.
And also, I will go on record of I hate anyone who would pay $40 to experience that as an installation in New York.
Well, yeah.
I really love, Eric, your idea. It's just I have a hard time voting for it when I see that mission space, which is so outdated.
Yeah,
It
I feel like
needs
that'd be perfect
buried.
when we'd eventually replace the Space Pavilion, which I want to.
I think I'm going to vote for Brock. At first, when you started your pitch, I was very nervous that we were just going to do a retread of what has been done before there, but I think it's a unique way of looking back, and expanding and improving on it are things that make me more excited to talk about it.
Cool.
Cool. I love being punished for not knowing enough about the parks.
Well,
Brock,
I'm actually,
your vote is next.
since my vote is more ceremonial now, I'm going to vote for Eric because I love that idea. I love it, love it, love it. In another part of the park.
So there's
You're voting for it so you win.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I think he's voting for it so I don't get any votes. And you know what? Fuck all of you. Second episode in a row, I didn't get a single fucking vote.
Okay.
Well, congratulations, Brock.
Thank you.
I won't be such a sourpuss. I'm sure.
I played the system a tiny bit, not gonna lie.
Oh, no,
yeah.
you did completely.
This is why
I
do
will
the
be a
voting
sourpuss.
This is why I do the voting system that I do.
Yeah.
And then I fucked with it, and then I realized.
So
this is
really,
what
I'm
happens.
a sourpuss at Eric for fucking everything.
It's on you, baby. But seriously, Eric and Tanner, I love those ideas. Eric, I think that's going to be perfect when we eventually talk about the Space Pavilion.
I'm not going to bring it back for that.
That's okay.
not?
Okay, I will.
I'll be honest. I would now out of spite. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
Brock
have
just
voted
brings
for it
everybody's
anyway.
ideas anyway.
All right, congratulations, Brock. We have an idea. Ding, ding, ding.
All right, Brock,
I-
kick it off.
Okay, so we have this in 3 parts. Basically, my inspiration for this was kind of strangely something that came from the terrible remake of this ride, which was they used the idea of the Imagination Institute and Dr. Nigel Channing, which was Eric Idle's character, to connect some of the rides in the pavilion. Eric Idle and the Imagination Institute both appeared in the Honey, I Shrunk the Audience video. So what they were doing is they were taking the Imagination Pavilion and trying to connect it under one umbrella. It was just the wrong umbrella. There's nothing fun or exciting for a child about an institute of researchers. That's not
Right.
a great time.
Doesn't matter what they're researching.
No.
Wait, but I thought
Especially
you
with-
liked living with the land.
I do love living with the land. There is a difference in that they are real and you can watch them do it. And it's also it doesn't exist to be a fun ride. It exists to be a ride where you go on it and you say, neat. So, with that being said, that's why I decided I wanted to include everything, including the 4D theater, in this idea of Dreamfinder and Figment. They are our guides into the world of imagination. So that being said, is there something you'd want me to start with? We have Journey into Imagination, ImageWorks, and the 4D theater. Any of
Let's
those drawing
start
anyone?
with the 4D theater. And then work our way up to, I think, the Dark Ride is our big
Awesome.
finale.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
Okay, so I basically explained my idea for the movie earlier, in which Dreamfinder and Figment, I'm picturing them as animatronics on the side, maybe on like little arms, kind of like Buzzy was in the, what's the name of that ride? The one Buzzy was on.
Body Wars.
Body Wars. So they're on these kind of arms that can go up and down. Cranium Command, that's it. Body Words was a different one.
I just wanted to wait till Jake said the wrong one, and then I'd come up with it.
Thanks, Tanner. Thanks for that.
So, and they would be shepherding us through. And I like the idea that Dreamfinder and Figment don't know that it's Walt Disney. It's just we as the audience kind of piece it together. So they're just talking about all the amazing things a person can imagine. And it doesn't have to be Walt Disney. That was just an idea I had that I thought would be a really fun way to tie it together. What do you guys think?
Boom.
Jesus Christ.
He imagined an Incredibles dance party.
And how to monetize it. I mean, I personally loved it as a Walt idea. I thought that was a great idea. I love the idea of the audience maybe piecing it together, but still being a surprise at the end. I thought that was a spectacular idea.
I think it's a cool idea. And this is nothing to do with.
I figured
the other stuff. It's more the only reason that that tugs at me just a little bit, and that doesn't mean that we don't have to do it. Is that I don't know. I just get iffy just about Walt worship kind of stuff, and the thing is, I think it fits, and I don't think it falls necessarily within that category, but it is something to keep in mind. He was a human being, fallible, and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
by all accounts, he was exhausting to know. Overworked people. Yelled sometimes. Didn't terribly love being around kids.
I mean, he was the CEO of a major corporation. What do you expect?
But I think the reason I still think I'm fine with Walt is because this pavilion is about imagination, and that dude's imagination was second to none. He came up with the entire concept of really a themed park that wasn't just a carnival or Coney Island. He came up with amazing characters. He was constantly striving to find new and innovative ways to make people happy. So I think just focusing on that side of Walt, because that's all we would be focusing on, his ideas, his imagination, I don't think it would get too far into the Walt worship, especially because I don't really necessarily want them to acknowledge that this is Walt Disney. I think we all just know. And then eventually it brings us back into Epcot, back to where we are, back to us sitting in the theater. Yeah. And I think
this is great. What? I do want to offer one more counterpoint, maybe a little less connected right to Disney, but maybe less problematic too. It could be like the mind of Elon Musk.
Jesus Christ.
Because I think those would be the two greatest minds.
Wake up one day and tank Bitcoin.
But I think that's there's some cool ways to tie that in. We go through some imagination, and maybe the last thing we see to tie it together before we go back to us is you see a hand drawing a Mickey thing and starting to finish it, and then we're back to where we were. So you can sort of tell that it's Walt, but at the same point, we're not necessarily glorifying in him and him only.
No, yeah, exactly.
We're glorifying in his we're appreciating his creation, right, and his creative process.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think one thing I thought would be fun is when we do see some of his characters, we see first drafts. Yeah. I'm sure they have all of that archived. You take some of the stuff from the archives and have them animated, and it's a little different. And we see Oswald and that kind of thing. The first draft of Disney. And concept art.
It might be cool to see. So when you do animation, they do this thing where they animate a bag of flour. So it's a common thing that animators do, where you take a sack of flour and you animate it to give it character and life, and then you kind of take those basic principles and evolve those into more shapes, and that's kind of the basis for all animation and movement. It might be cool if we saw something like that, and it slowly evolved from the bag of flour into something more recognizable, like a Disney character or some of Walt's early sketches. I think
that is cool. I would not say do it with a bag of flour, just because but do it with just like basic shapes, I think would be cool.
Well, no, it's not an actual bag of flour. If you look it up, for anybody out there, it's just like a sketch that resembles a bag of flour. It's basic shapes. It's not actually a bag of flour.
Gotcha. I was just saying that does feel a little inside baseball, but I get what you're saying now. But yeah, so just like a fun collection of shapes.
Yeah, it's basically a blob, an amorphous blob that just kind of resembles a sack of flour.
It looks like a pillow to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a general rectangle, pretty much. Ish shape.
Yeah,
right.
But I think that's a great idea. So that's kind of how it begins with his cartooning, and I think that's awesome. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about with the 4D theater?
I mean, I would like to experience, maybe the construction of the parks and stuff as well.
Absolutely.
But so in the 4D sense, it might be neat if there was some flying, or you feel wind, or I'm trying to see how to incorporate the 4D.
I was wondering how we planned on incorporating the 4D elements, because right now this sounds... It's a cool
like
idea
a movie,
and something I would watch, but it seems like the most boring 4D show.
Yeah, well, I was thinking one idea I had for Disneyland is we see the concept art on paper, like it being sketched, and then the color coming up, and then it kind of pops up like a pop-up, and suddenly we're flying through as the pop-up is turning into the buildings being constructed, and then we continue to fly through, and suddenly it's fully formed, and there's fireworks, and there's fountains and characters all about. So I think if we're kind of flying through this. We're going to be flying through all of these things, moving constantly to keep in motion with the characters who are being animated, or the way we are traveling about the park. Was my idea. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And then that way we swoop through Disney and then fly up into Epcot and swoop down into the theater and something like that.
And say, what will you imagine? No.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so at the end, Dreamfinder and Figment, maybe something better than that is less scary. But Figment says, like, wow, like we see ourselves on the screen. Figment says, wow, look at these friendly people or whatever. And Dreamfinder says something along the lines of, and they can imagine things too. I wonder what they'll imagine, or something like that. And then that's the note we leave on, kind of a call to action to just use our imaginations.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it.
All right.
Cool.
So then we move on to ImageWorks. That part I would like to rename instead of ImageWorks, which to me just sounds like a place where you get your photos developed. I would like to rename that to the Dreamfinder's Dream Factory. And so that would have... I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm sure you guys can come up with some ideas for me, hopefully. But, it's all going to be interactive games and elements like you'd find in an arcade, but much, much better, which is currently what it is. But I just like to update it for nowadays because the way they've been updating it lately is just what can we fit in there that's cheap and easy.
Right.
Like they have like Xbox Connect stuff in there. But I'm thinking we design one of those virtual reality experiences where, there are multiple people in the experience. Just a very short one, but just something where kids can kind of play in the space. It might not even have a story, but it's kids playing in the space as the world changes around them, and maybe things that they do will change the world. I thought of the idea of magic, quote-unquote, easels, which are... This is going to be super simple. It's basically an easel with a attached paintbrush that really operates as a screen, probably with projection or rear projection.
The paintbrush is like a stylus.
And the paintbrush is like a stylus, and you can paint magical things that will like sparkle and shine in just ways that paint couldn't. These are just quick things for kids to play with for 30 seconds. But then I also thought we could have, like, every 15 minutes or every half hour, a guided story time with Dreamfinder. So an actor playing Dreamfinder would come out. They used to always have, like, a Figment puppet when the actors played Dreamfinder. They would come out and they would start telling a story and then start getting suggestions from kids. And then the story would change with the suggestions from kids. The way that it's an activity that people do with, like, kindergartners, and I think it'd just be a real fun way to incorporate children's imaginations into the stories.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So those are the three I thought of. Are there any? Do you guys want to think of some others?
That's tough.
We also don't have to.
Yeah, no.
Okay. All right. Maybe some, like, musical instrument toys.
Yeah, I was thinking I think it'd be fun to work music or sound in some capacity, and then I'm thinking about I remember seeing this at COSI, which is the science center in Toledo, I believe, years ago. And then I think they have similar technology in line for Peter Pan now, but where your shadows. You can use your shadows to control a game or something.
Oh, that's
It
fun.
might be fun to use that kind of technology to make it seem like otherworldly or dream-esque things are coming to life and you're actually interacting with them in some sort of capacity. I think that's almost like taking the Xbox Kinect and putting it on cocaine in a good way. It's like, why would they put that cheap-ass thing in there when they could do something amazing?
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe something like that would be interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I like that.
And maybe you can interact directly with Figment.
Yeah,
that
we
could
could
be
do.
fun.
We could definitely do a Turtle Talk with Crush kind of thing. Figment's on a screen, talking to the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he can come
turn
and go.
into different things, and he can come and go, and he can bring in other characters or other ideas. Or maybe at one point he brings in Mickey. It might be fun to see Figment interact with Mickey or something like that. Like, not necessarily that, but I don't know.
That would be cool.
I think,
I don't know how Disney, what their opinions are on that kind of thing, but in my opinion, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's cool. I don't know what to say.
No, I mean that's the thing with this
Your
kind
eyes
of
say it all, Eric.
Yeah. I'm trying to look at them to see what they're saying.
Now they're wondering what they're saying, so it's a different thing they're saying.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, they're very inquisitive right now.
You just ended up in a feedback loop there.
So pretty.
For listeners at home, Eric does indeed have pretty eyes. Okay, so those were. Oh, and there they are up close.
Hang on, Eric. I'm going to take a screenshot. Everybody look thrilled. Beautiful. Thank you.
That's one for our Instagram.
Look for that on Instagram.
Okay.
Thanks for letting us know this time that you were taking one, unlike the last time. We're like,
Yeah.
I think I'm like checking
It was
notes.
more fun when it was candid.
about the.
To be fair, everybody was laughing when I pushed the button, and then by the time it actually took the picture, you were checking notes. Brock was looking at something else. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
So glad.
Just imagine that we were all smiling. Thank you. I got us back on track.
And speaking of imagination, that is the final thing we can talk about is the Journey into Imagination ride.
All right.
So,
This is kind of the flagship of the pavilion,
yeah,
right?
the dark ride within the pavilion. So how do you want to do this? Do you want me to just start describing what my idea is and then you jump in?
I think so,
Okay.
yeah.
So I can't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but when it was quote-unquote updated, they cut half of the ride out. They just changed the tracks a little bit, so it's half as long. I would, of course, like to return it to its original length. The room that they saved from changing the track became modern ImageWorks. Old ImageWorks was upstairs. I'd like to move ImageWorks back upstairs, take that track space back.
But where will the Disney Vacation Club members go?
We can just put a
To hell.
we can put a tent
No,
outside.
we didn't build my Bing Bong Imagination Land, so there's no how to put them in.
Right.
Okay, so the original ride has a very interesting show scene at the front as we circle around Dreamfinder atop his magical flying machine. Tanner, Eric, if you don't know what that looks like, I would definitely recommend checking it out, and all the listeners at home. So I would like to include that with some modern effects. The flying machine looked very cool. However, as far as I can tell, it was kind of stagnant. So I think we could have a lot more movement, steampunky gyros and gears moving and changing and sparks coming out, purple and blue, looking like it is magic. And we could kind of envelop the entire room in sort of a magical shroud of magical aura. And we see at the end of that Dreamfinder imagining Figment. He kind of pops out. And so during this, Dreamfinder's talking about imagination and and anything you can imagine, and then Figment pops out. And now the ride is about Figment imagining things. So Dreamfinder then becomes kind of the mentor character, a bit of a narrator through the ride, as Figment is trying to imagine things and Dreamfinder makes them come to life.
Okay.
I have something I wanted to bring up right away. The ride vehicles seem to, in my opinion, when you talk about how cool Dreamfinder's Dream Machine is, the dull, just plain red ride vehicle, it used to at least be purple, which felt more on theme with Figment.
It felt a little more Figment-y, yeah.
Yeah, but now they're just these red carts. That feels very lacking for a ride all about the possibilities of our imagination.
Yeah, I agree. And I didn't even think of that, but of course,
steampunk
the ride
those
vehicles
up a little bit would be where I would want it to reflect much more. It doesn't have to fly like his machine, but
it should feel like it came from the same place.
Yeah.
It should feel like Dreamfinder also made these.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of it being steampunky, like you said, but also magical.
Yeah.
Like if you look at maybe it has glass tubes and stuff that have glittery water flowing through them, and maybe parts glow, and and I really like the bright purple. Maybe it's a purple glitter finish on the whole vehicle.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I don't hate the purple. It was more just the most basic looking vehicle you could get.
Oh yeah, it's it came out of the box that way.
It's almost like they were working on a super limited budget to come up with the fastest shit they could.
Yeah, there's a bunch of sponsor politics. It was sponsored by Kodak, and then they were losing money. There are reasons it happened, but there aren't good reasons it happened. Yeah, so I think the original ride then kind of went into three basic sections. It was the arts, and then with a section that was almost just as big, performing arts, and then science and technology. There was also a section called image technology, which was very short, and it was basically photographs because Kodak sponsored it.
Right.
So I think keeping the arts, performing arts, and science and technology is a fun idea. I think what we should do, though, is take performing arts and change it into stories. Because that's kind of what that section ended up being anyway. It was basically just Figment acting in a bunch of different stories. So I'm thinking the way we do this is we start with art. like it used to. And I was thinking we could take a lot of cues. This is something we talked about, I believe, on our New Year's episode, from Jake's Art Park ride, in which we traveled through different...
There you go, stealing ideas again.
I was trying to make you happy.
I will have you know, I intentionally did not do an arts-themed version of this so that I would not be the one stealing an idea.
Is it too late to change my vote?
And that might have saved me.
I genuinely thought when I said that you would be excited. I'm sorry.
Voting controversy. Anyway, Brock, you were stealing an idea.
In our imagination episode of all, he said, I have an idea. Let's take their original idea and improve it with other ideas I have stolen. And that, my friends, is imagination.
Imagination.
I mean, honestly, Tanner, that is a valid critique.
And steal it for your own is the song that's playing now.
But I thought, Jake, you would think that was cool. I guess not. I guess you hate that idea.
It's a good idea. No, it is a great idea.
But yeah, if we could travel through art. So first,
Eric, what was that face?
I don't.
Calling your own original idea a great idea feels a little ego strokey there, Gabber.
Yeah, I was thinking about feedback loops. That's all I was thinking about.
So I was thinking Figment. It would start kind of in a white room. Figment would start to imagine splashes of color, and then that would, and with projection mapping, this would be a lot of that. That would turn into sort of paintings, and we would go through different art styles. Eventually, I'm just going to do the basic overview as quick as I can. We go through those different art styles. Eventually, Figment starts to realize that stories can be told within these art styles, or there's fascinating places he wants to visit. So he starts imagining himself as, a character in a story. He becomes a cowboy. He becomes a I don't know. Those stories. He's in stories. Maybe he's in a little bit of a spooky situation. But essentially, what I'd like to do here is use kind of sets that, depending on how they're projection mapped, can appear different ways. Figment we could do as an animatronic, or we could do several animatronics in different costumes. And then I was thinking, so the final genre that he kind of goes into is like science fiction, and he's an astronaut. And then the science fiction prompts him to become interested in science, and Dreamfinder reminds him and us that everything that was science, all scientists started themselves with their own spark of imagination. And then we can go into the science and technology and discovering, the future, as this is in in Future World. So that would be the prompt into science. And then we end the way the original version ended, with Figment by himself for the first time singing the song Spark of Imagination as he imagines new and wonderful ideas. But I just think the technology it would make that situation a lot more incredible.
He could imagine a toilet on the ceiling.
Right. Or a skunk being sprayed into your face and having to endure that smell.
He does not imagine either of those things. That is, for listeners not in the know, that is from the current version of the ride. I will say I am 100%, I don't know where or how, but I'm 100% keeping that illusion where the invisible butterfly becomes a visible butterfly, because it's cool. So that's my concept for the ride. I know I kind of went really full into it. I'm sorry that I had so many details, but
that's fine.
When it came to my head, I was just fully formed because I started with very good, strong bones, and then just the ways to update it kind of came to my head.
Drink his milk.
Fully formed. Yeah.
I don't think that's something you'd apologize for. I mean, that sounded pretty good to me.
No, I'll take an apology.
Okay, but are there anything we want to add to that? Anything we want to change?
No, I think it sounds great.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
It was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good.
All right.
Yeah. So, on that note, Brock, how do you feel about your pavilion?
I feel great about it. How do you guys feel?
I like it. I think
I
it's
really
fun.
liked it. Yeah, I think it's definitely better than what is currently there. But to be fair, the bar was set pretty low.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
realistically,
all of our pitches would have been better.
I think
than
the
what was
solution that you came up with was to just undo what they've done to damage it and then update it from there. Because I think the main problem with it is they just kept taking and taking.
Yeah, they never really.
Your pitch is, instead of taking it back to what it was, you're like taking it to what they should have done.
Yeah.
You know?
That's exactly my thought, because I was thinking about this. I was talking to Abby earlier. Journey into Imagination, if they had not touched it, would be one of those rides like Small World and Pirates and Haunted Mansion, where it's just, when we think of Disney rides, that one comes to mind, because it's just the classic Epcot idea.
I was having this conversation earlier with it's not important, but I was going to say with Mom, okay? I was talking to my mother about Disney. That's what I do. But we were talking about how the two classic rides at Epcot used to be Horizons and Journey into Imagination. They destroyed both of them. Literally just wiped Horizons off the face of the earth, and then Journey into Imagination they turned into this shit show that it is today.
Yeah.
It's disappointing.
So on that fun little shit show note,
let's have another shit show and go into the lightning round. Hey!
Did Jake say lightning round?
Spin that wheel.
Lightning round.
I like to call it the imagination round.
I mean, it is.
All right. Today, we have a log flume. And that log... Jesus Christ. I don't know how this is going to work. That log flume is themed to holes. Yes. The Disney-owned movie based on the Louis Satcher book.
About a centuries-old drought.
Yes. And we are pitching a log flume. Take it away, boys.
Brock, you're up first.
Oh, Jesus. We are on a log flume coming down from the hand of God. In the movie, there's the little thumb on a mountain. Looks like a thumbs
God's
up.
thumb.
And the rain has finally started after the drought, and we are heading down there with an old rowboat that hasn't been used in decades, and a pocket full of sploosh, which is the onion and peach concoction from the film. That's all I got. We're paddling the rowboat with shovels. There we go.
Cool. It's me next. Great. Okay, so it's a log flume with multiple drops, and each drop is a different hole. So you're just going in and out of each hole. And it's called holes.
All right.
How'd you get out of the hole, Eric?
Now you just keep getting...
Tanner, I'm not
You keep digging yourself a hole.
an engineer, okay? I'm an ideas guy. I'm like Walt Disney.
You just break out the other side.
Yeah. You just keep digging.
Duh.
Like you're doing now.
Tanner. Yeah. Hey now. I don't want to go again. Jake, you're next.
Okay. All right, so mine is at the end of the book and at the end of the movie when it finally rained. But instead, what we're going to say is it just kept raining, like biblical rain, okay? Just downpour. And the whole lake fills back in within a matter of like 20 minutes. So it's all the inmates of Camp Green Lake, and we are taking their place as we scramble to grab any bits of furniture, anything that's going by, and that becomes our ride vehicles. Just all the debris from the flood, and we need to ride to safety. Thank you.
You are welcome, sir. Always appreciate your time.
Especially this episode, right?
Let's go to Tanner.
All right, so during this log flume, we will be listening to the hit song. I'm sure we all remember that accompanied the film. It was a rap featuring all of the D-Temp boys, Zigzag, Armpit, X-Ray, and Caveman, as they talk about their time at the camp and as we're passing time. So it's like a celebration as they're showing us around the camp and how miserable it can be, but we're having fun with it because they're commiserating, and at the end, they're all just living their best life at the camp.
Also, there's a log flume somewhere.
Yeah, no, you're going through the log flume.
Yeah.
That was
I like
obvious
it.
from the
Tanner,
stated fact that we were.
There's nothing better than listening to Shia LaBeouf rap.
Yeah, Tanner, can you sing that song for us, please?
No.
You said you remembered it so well.
Isn't it?
Oh,
Dig
dig it,
them
dig it,
Yeah.
You know, who could forget Shia LaBeouf's famous bars, 2 suits, 2 tokens in hand. I got no respect because I'm the new man. Got my shovel, shoes full of sand. Check out the tag. The name is Caveman. And then we'd move down the river to the next D-Tent boy.
Yeah,
and
so
their
we see each of
introduction.
them
And
rapping.
then we'd go down the drop, and then we'd see them all celebrating at the end.
Yeah. Great.
I feel like
Outstanding.
all of
Really-
the audience was with me except for Brock.
Yeah. No,
I was
got it.
with you, man.
I'm right there with you.
It's a great element you've added to the mythos is the log flume.
All right, Brock, take us out of here. It's enough
Okay. Jake, I can tell you're imagining something. Are you imagining our Facebook?
of that. I am. It's coming to me now. Facebook.com/Main Street Musings.
And Tanner, I can see you're having a little bit of a spark of Instagramation.
Jesus Christ.
I hate you. I hope
Me
our
too.
our Instagram is main_street_musings. I'm never going to use my imagination again, thanks to Brock.
And Eric, why don't you imagine yourself some wings and you start twittering? It was bad, guys. This is bad.
Yeah, I couldn't even laugh at that one.
Podcast.
And I'm Brock, regrettably.
I hope Twitter
everyone,
Finder runs you
give us-
over with his imagination flying machine, Brock.
Give us 5-star reviews. Tell your friends. Give us ratings. Just imagine yourself a better outro.
I want everybody
I don't have
out
to
there
stretch
to
that
just
hard.
go out in your yard and sit and play with a stick. And just remember the good old days of pure imagination. Go hit something with a stick.
I can't help but feel like that was a euphemism.
See, don't use your imagination in the way that Tanner uses his imagination.